Hey everybody, Mike Toy here, Bonsai Boise. This is a Chinese elm that I bought almost 1 year ago, back in June of 2024. It's one of the few bonsai trees I've just bought as a bonsai tree. Usually I'll buy some kind of nursery stock and then I'll convert it into bonsai. But I didn't have a Chinese elm yet and always wanted one. And then I found one and I thought this was a good deal. I think it was around $50, but had pretty decent trunk and had a cool S shape going, kind of standard, but still. So I did. As you can see, it's a little bit scraggly looking. I wouldn't say that it's unhealthy by any means. It's just, scraggly. It's kind of expected. These nursery trees, when you get them, they don't put a lot of thought, I think, into the structure. They just sort of prune them down to shape so that they, fit within a certain size. Then however it grows in that shape is however it grows. I also don't know about this soil. I think that's some kind of volcanic rock maybe, or I don't know what that is exactly. Turfus, maybe. I'm not sure. They wired it in. But like I said, it's not unhealthy or anything. It seems to be fine. So I'm just kind of looking it over here and trying to figure out, what should I do with it? It's too late in the year to repot it. So I can't repot it at this particular stage. But I can get it started with some decent structure. So I start with the obvious things like getting rid of dead branches and little nubs. And then I start to look for places where 2, 3, 4 branches come out of the same spot on the trunk. Typically, you just want one branch coming off of the trunk. Or in other words, you want one branch to split into 2, 2 into 4, etc. You don't want 3, 4 branches coming out of one spot. And then something else I look for, I don't really like the imbalance of how many branches are coming out of, each side. So once I reduce this down to just a branch or 2 here. See how there's 3 branches on the left side there, kind of in the middle? So there's the one down on the bottom right, which I'm working on now. And then there's 3 on the left. And then 2 more on the right. It's kind of imbalanced to me. I would much more, and this is just a me thing. I don't know if this is everybody or just me, but I prefer it when it kind of goes every other. So one, and then the other, and then the other on the other side. Hopefully that makes sense. It'll make sense here when I show you. I'm going to get rid of 2 out of the 3 on this left side. Kind of like that. So now there's 1 on the right, and 1 on the left, and 1 on the right, 1 on the left. And I realize that's not what trees do in nature, but bonsai trees don't look like this in nature at all anyway. They don't grow in an S shape, so it's sort of the point of the S-shaped bonsai trees. You sculpt it. It's like art. You want it to look good. So I'm working on that. And then also, I get rid of all the branches that are growing on the inside of the curve. It's a little less important up at the very top than it is on the main trunk, but you typically want the branches to come on the outside of the curve, not on the inside, whenever possible. And I'm not black and white on that. I'm not super strict, but generally speaking, it just looks a lot better. And then it fares better in the long run too, because if you got one growing on the inside of a curve, then it starts to, turn into a pad. It starts to branch out and it kind of is crowded and it looks weird. So the point of this pruning right here on this day is just to fix the structure to set it up for long-term growth. So that's kind of what I'm doing. It's going to look pretty bare by the time I'm done with it on this day, but don't worry, wait till you see how it bounces back. I will say, as I'm working on this, I did a little research on Chinese elms compared to, like, say, a Siberian elm. I have a lot of Siberian elms. They grow like crazy here in Idaho. And they're kind of similar. You might not even notice a difference at first glance, but there are some differences. Siberian elms are a little more hardy. Chinese elms are also pretty hardy. Chinese elms are considered semi-evergreen, so you can grow them inside or outside. And occasionally they don't even drop their leaves, whereas the Siberian elm is deciduous. Here it is about a week and a half later, and look at that. Already leafing back out again. So I had a feeling it was healthy. It was just sort of, a nursery tree. Nursery trees don't get a lot of love. They just sort of sit there on the shelf. And then probably once every 6 months, somebody comes up and just hacks it down and it sits for another 6 months. Here it is about 2 weeks later after that. And look at that. So not even a month from the time I got it, pruned it down to almost nothing, and it's already bounced way back. So it's a pretty fast grower. I would say so far it's almost as vigorous and fast a grower as the Siberian elm, but maybe not quite. Still pretty fast. See those marks there? I think what happens, because I've seen this on ficuses too, when you get these nursery trees, is that somebody just puts a couple sticks in a pot and they wrap the trunk around it and tie it to it, and then it just grows like that, and it sort of scars the trunk and grows into it. So here it is, July 23, so about a month and a half after I first got it and hacked it down to nothing, and look at that. There's no stopping this thing. So the good news is that it's super healthy. But before it gets all out of whack, I'm gonna trim it down again. You kind of want to stay on top of these elms when it comes to trimming. It does slow down the thickening of the trunk. I mean, if you want to thicken up the trunk, the best thing to do is just let it grow wild. That's the fastest and most efficient way to do it, because letting it grow equals foliage, more foliage equals thicker trunk, etc. But these things grow so quickly and so vigorously that you can end up with reverse taper. You get 5 branches coming out of one spot, and then you get a big growth bulge in that one place, and it looks kind of weird, and it takes forever to correct, if you can correct it at all. So the best thing to do is just kind of stay on top of it as best you can with pruning it, just to prevent that reverse taper and those weird growth bulges. And by the way, I'm not claiming to be an expert on elms or anything. I do have a lot of them, and I'm just speaking from my experience. But there are others out there who might be considered an expert on these. So this is what it looked like on that day after I pruned it back. So kind of a severe prune again, but that's okay. You could chop this thing in half and it wouldn't slow down. It would just keep on going, which I'm thinking about someday. So that branch on the left there in the middle, I'm thinking about someday trunk chopping it down to that spot. I think that might make a cool shape in the long run. But I'll think about that and we'll decide later. There's a closer look at some of the pruning scars from earlier. Sorry, the video gets a little weird right at this spot. I'm not sure what happened. It kind of gets a little wavy for a second. Here it is in September, early September. So already, I mean, you can see by now, there's just no stopping this thing. Super healthy, super green. From what I read about these, they're also resistant to Dutch elm disease and insects and pests. So that's good. I don't know much about Dutch elm disease other than nobody knows what to do about it. There's no cure. It just kind of happens occasionally with elms and wipes them all out. And that's it, from what I have read at least. So it's good to have one that is resistant to that. It's also resistant to aphids. So there we go. The structure is holding up so far. Every time I hack it back, I add a little more to the structure. I don't have to take it back quite as severe each time. I am looking forward to repotting this, so I want to get it out of that soil. I don't really know what the soil is, and I just want to get it in my own bonsai soil. So fast forward to February of 25. I left it outside all winter, not really sure what was going to happen, but it seemed to do fine. Well, sort of. It gave me a little scare in the beginning, which I'll show you. But I finally decided to repot it. Now, unfortunately, apologize for this, I lost the footage of me actually doing the repot. I don't know what happened. I have footage right before and then right after so we can see what it looked like, but the actual footage of me trimming the roots and whatnot is gone. You see all that fuzz on it? So I put all my trees up next to the house all winter to winterize them. And this one happened to go right under the dryer vent exhaust. So all that dryer lint just dumped on it all winter. Didn't realize it at the time. I don't know how I didn't notice it, but yeah, so that's all just dryer lint. On the upside, it smells really good though. So I trimmed it back. Got kind of a cool winter silhouette look. Next, I'm going to get it out of this pot, repot it. I can say that I didn't go too severe on the roots. There weren't a ton of roots, but I lost all that footage. Here it is a month and a half later in April. It took a while to bounce back. All my Siberian elms had already leafed out at this point. So I was really worried about this, that maybe it died or something. But then I finally started to see little tiny green buds, so quite a relief. Then fast forward to May 18, so just about a week ago or so. And it leafed out again, fully bounced back. Very relieved that it didn't die. Had it died, I wouldn't have known what it was. I wouldn't have known if it was from me repotting it or from the dryer vent or what. You can see a difference there from when I first got it to now. Lighting might have had something to do with that, so who knows, but it definitely looks better. Less scraggly, more bushy. So I've got it some good bonsai soil now. Got some decorative rocks on there just for fun. We're sort of leaning towards, just growing pads on it. So that bottom right branch would be a pad, and then the middle left branch would be a pad, and so forth. There's a branch coming out of the backside, kind of in between the right and left, so that's acceptable, I think. So I trimmed up the bottom right branch. And here's my little elm mascot, little ladybug. I didn't notice him at first. Check him out. He's here to eat bugs, so we like him. Thanks, mascot. In the meantime, we'll work on some of the structure here. If you remember the first time I got it from, 10, 15 minutes ago, I took it way, way back pretty hard just to start the structure off on the right foot. And it seems to be paying off here, you could tell. You can now see that structure has built a little bit more now. so bushy down there. It's like you almost kind of gotta just rip your way in and see what's in there a little bit. So I do. So it's starting to look pretty good. It's a little too tall, I think. So we can fix that pretty easy. And there we go. That bottom right pad also I think might be too tall, or the one above it might be too low. I'm not sure. They're starting to kind of meet. So I'll have to address that soon. But this is where I leave it that day. So it's off to a good start for the year. Thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day.